Let's get excited about these new romance books releasing next month. Hey friends, today I'm going to be sharing with you a few romance books that are going to be dropping next month in February, just in time for Valentine's Day. I'm only going to be naming a few, but I will leave in the description a link to more places where you can find different books that you might find interesting. We got a few different tropes here, like enemies to lover, forced proximity, fake marriage, opposites attract, so let's get into it. The first book I will be telling you about is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. Now, Tessa Bailey is the author of It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker, and I know a lot of people love those books. So this book follows Holly, and when she was 14, she had an almost kiss with this guy named Julian. It's now years later, and Julian had recently moved back in town to take care of his parents' estate. And guess what? Holly is hired to revamp the gardens there. She is still very much attracted to him, but she quickly realizes that they are like complete opposites. Anyway, something happens and Julian ends up receiving a secret admirer letter. And it's from Holly. He don't know that though. One thing he does know is that he keeps getting distracted by Holly. So this book very much feels like Grumpy Sunshine, Forced Proximity. So this next book is Not Your Ex's Hexes by April Asher. Now this is a witch romance. So this follows Rose, who recently stepped down from becoming the next prima at the Supernatural Council. And Damien is a half-demon veterinarian. So they both end up forming this specific kind of relationship while Rose is doing community service at the animal shelter that Damien works at. Now Rose soon finds her passion in becoming a hunter, but Damien doesn't approve of that because it kind of brings up like a past that he thought he left behind. But with all this time that they're spending together, Damien is realizing that he's slowly catching feelings for Rose. If he falls in love with her, he loses not only his heart, but his humanity, all because of his ex's hex. I thought this sounded intriguing because I don't really read witch romances or supernatural romances. It sounds like it would be a really interesting read. Next is Not the Plan by Gia de Cadenet. Now this is an enemies to lovers romance. This book follows Isadora, and she is very experienced in state politics, and she's actually looking forward to managing her boss's representative campaign. With a dream to make a difference, she meets this guy named Kareem, who shares many of the same ideals as her. But of course there's one problem. He's working for her political rival. And she's like, why is he working for someone like him? Now Isadora cannot risk the campaign by getting close to her rival, but it's kind of hard to do when they have such chemistry. Now I have not read a political romance book before, but I have read Enemies to Lovers, and I love that trope. This next book sounds so good, and I'm actually very excited for this one to come out. This book is Twisted by Emily McIntyre. Now this is a dark contemporary romance, but it's also like a fairy tale retelling. Just guess which fairy tale retelling it is. Are you ready? Now Yasmin is a daughter to the richest man in the world. He has suddenly become ill, and he has one wish, and that's for his daughter to marry someone of his choosing. But that becomes a problem when she's already in love with a servant, and that's someone that her dad is just not gonna approve of. Now enter Julian, her father's right-hand man, and who is hiding so much more than what he's putting out. His plan is to become the most powerful man in the world, and he sees the opportunity right in front of his face. Although he cannot stand Yasmin, he'll do whatever it takes to convince her to marry him. Now guess which story retelling that is, and comment it below. Now I think this is like the 4th book in the Never After series, but they can all be read as standalones. Next book is Just My Type. Now this is a adult contemporary romance, and I believe it's like enemies to lovers, but also second chance romance. The story follows Lana, and she's been in relationships after relationships after relationships until her most recent breakup, which she just decides to stay single. Then here comes Seth, which is literally her ex-boyfriend from high school. He is now her colleague and competitor. With all this history and all this chemistry, they are actually forced to go against in a challenge. They must both write an article against their dating type. Now, most popular article wins, but not only is their career on the lines, but also their hearts. It sounds cute. We love a good second chance romance. Next is Wild Ever After by Rebecca Genshak. Now this is a hockey romance, and it's also a marriage of convenience. I'm not sure what point of view this book is in, but reading the synopsis, it was actually from the male's perspective. Now this book follows Declan, who is a hockey player who ends up marrying his coach's daughter's best friend, Jade. And it's not only because this is really good press for him being a, I guess, famous hockey player, but it's also good for her because it saves her job after being recently dumped by her fiance. The only problem is that he's not supposed to fall for her, but there's a high possibility that he will. Now, I don't know what's the reason that they can't fall in love with each other, but it sounds really good, so. Next we have End of Story by Kylie Scott. Now, this is a good opposites attract romance. Now, listen to the plot of this story. It's kind of crazy. So this book follows Lana, right? Susie. This book follows Susie, who is excited to work on a fixer-upper that was inherited by her aunt. Of course, the contractor is none other than her ex's best friend, Lars. She decides to just deal with it because the faster that she gets this house done, the faster she can just go on and live her best life. However, things take a massive turn when Lars ends up finding a divorce certificate in the wall. But that's not even the craziest part. Both of their names are on the document. So now they're trying to figure out where this divorce certificate came from, but they cannot deny the sparks flying between them. I don't think that I've ever read a book like that. It almost feels like it's like gonna be like time travel-y, maybe like they came back from the future. Like, I don't know. And last but not least, we have The Neighbor Favor by Christine Frost. Now, this book follows Lily, and she is not really living the life that she wants. What she really wants is to be a children's book editor. That's not happening right now, so she finds an escape in emailing her favorite fantasy author. Now, they go back and forth, and it seems that their relationship is forming into something more. That is until he ghosts her. Fast forward a few months, and now she needs a date to her sister's wedding. Luckily, she has a new neighbor. His name is Nick. But what she doesn't know is that he is her favorite fantasy author. Yes, the one that ghosts her. Although Nick is super attracted to Lily, he has a tendency to push people away, which explains how he ghosts her. He keeps self-sabotaging himself at this point because he decides that he wants to set her up with someone else. So that is all for the February romance book releases that I wanted to share with you guys. Again, there are so many more books releasing in February, so check the description so you can check out what books might interest you. I don't know when I'm going to be reading these books, but I am definitely excited, and you should be too because these sound amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and since you're already here, think about subscribing maybe, or dropping a like, or sharing a comment, or turning on that bell button. Alright, I'll see you guys real soon on my next video. Bye! December. Hey guys. Oh.